1989, the Belgian American Foundation, led by its founder Dr. Paul Delahaye, erected a memorial to the crew of the B-17 Flying Fortress Susan Ruth on the property of the Distillery Farm in Macquenoise, Belgium, near where the bomber crashed down 45 years earlier on February 8, 1944. The 4 living crew members at the time and their wives traveled to attend the ceremonies surrounding the dedication. They were pilot Howard Snyder and his wife Ruth from Sedona, Arizona, left waist gunner Joe Musial and his wife Eleanor from Miami, Florida, flight engineer top turret gunner Kyle Roy Holbert and his wife Livonia from Knoxville, Tennessee, and tail gunner Bill Slenker and his wife Jeannine from St. Louis, Missouri. Joe Musial filmed the entire trip, involving numerous events and locations, and this video contains excerpts from his footage. On February 8, 1944, while on a bombing mission to Frankfurt, Germany, the B-17 Susan Ruth was attacked by 2 German Focke-Wulf fighters and shot down over the French-Belgian border. During the attack, ball turret gunner Louis Colbert and radio operator Ross Kaler were killed. The other 8 members of the 10-man bomber crew were able to bail out before the Susan Ruth crashed down near the Distillery Farm in Macquenoise, Belgium. 3 of the crew members who bailed out of the plane, Bombardier Richard Daniels, flight engineer top turret gunner Kyle Roy Holbert, and left waist gunner Joe Musial, were captured immediately by the Germans and became prisoners of war. Fortunately, all 3 would come back home. 3 other crew members who parachuted out, co-pilot George Ike, navigator Robert Benninger, and right waist gunner John Pindrock, evaded capture for a couple months, and along with 5 other downed U.S. airmen, were hiding in a makeshift hut in the Champagne woods of Saint-Remy, Belgium. However, on April 22nd, all 8 men were captured by the Germans, taken to the schoolhouse in Chimay to be interrogated, and then driven back into the woods, where they were all executed by being shot twice in the back. The remaining 2 members of the Susan Ruth crew evaded capture for 7 months until September 2nd, when U.S. armies liberated the area. Tail gunner Bill Slenker was hidden by Josephine Collet and her 2 daughters, Gisele and Paula, at their home in Chimay. Unlike Bill Slenker, pilot Howard Snyder was moved from place to place and was helped and hidden by many Belgian people. After learning that the Allies had invaded Normandy, France on D-Day, June 6th, Howard Snyder joined the French resistance, called the Maquis, and fought against the Germans until being liberated in Trélon, France on September 2nd, 1944. After pilot Howard Snyder joined the French resistance, called the Maquis, the group stayed at the Hermitage farm just across the Belgian border in Wallers-en-Fagne, France. The French resistance was made up of small, independent ragtag guerrilla groups all across France who harassed the Germans during Nazi occupation from 1940 to 1944. While visiting the farm, Howard Snyder talks about some of his experiences. Paul Delahaye and Jack Gondry, as interpreter, accompanied the crew members and their wives.
There were 16 black Algerian troops who had escaped from prison, and they lived in the barn. This is all new. It was an old barn back in the trees. And they lived back there. There was a French lieutenant who had escaped from prison, who was in charge of the group. And he had a brother in town who had a radio in contact with the ground in London, and they would tell us where the Germans blow up the time.
Did you get over by the barn? Jack and Eleanore.
Let me get my camera.
Yeah, because we want you in it.
I
Where do you want us to stay? By the barn. Would that be all right, Jack?
Oh, okay.
Because Joe wants a picture real bad.
Look at that. Am I pretty?
Here you are.
Hey,
There you go.
Have a seat.
you're welcome, sir.
Toward the end of the war, the barn and the house in the same building, see?
Enough, Joe. Enough, Joe.
Maintenant, l'été.
Oui, c'est plus grand.
C'est plus grand maintenant.
Ah oui, c'était reconstruit.
Ouais.
Ouais, il y avait pas
Those
de...
were stables.
Il ne devait pas avoir de logement.
Ils
à
logeaient
l'époque.
dans les étages.
I slept up there in one of these
Non,
rooms.
il dormait dans une de ces deux chambres-là et il a
Ah.
entendu un jour un camion d'Allemands arriver. Il était occupé à se raser, excusez-moi, il était en caleçon.
Oui,
Et il a sauté par la fenêtre,
il a sauté.
sans se casser une jambe, et il a couru à toutes jambes dans le bois, se cacher.
En caleçon.
Ouais,
Pendant qu'ils en ont
ouais, probablement, ouais.
Alors ces pièces-là,
So we
elles étaient quand
suppose
même
that the
faites
Germans
alors.
came by the back then,
They came up the drive.
the drive.
Yeah, and see, I could see the drive here from the window.
Ah oui,
And
il
I could
pouvait
see
voir,
the-
les voir
see the-
arriver de la
See
chambre.
Ah
German
oui,
cars,
oui.
man car come up.
Là-bas d'en
So
haut,
they parked
d'accord.
on the other side.
C'est ça, ils sont arrêtés de l'autre côté, les Allemands.
So I thought they were coming in the house
Ah,
where
oui.
they meet.
Ouais, alors ils croyaient qu'ils entraient dans la maison pour
D'accord.
l'attraper, pour le
D'accord.
prendre.
I had just my shorts on and lather all over my face.
C'est ça, il avait du savon plein la figure.
Ah oui,
donc,
oui.
se rasait et il a sauté par la fenêtre et il est parti tout dans le bois. Voilà.
So wonder you could even walk on that foot anymore, Howard. You busted
Well, that was
parachuting, you busted playing basketball, you...
well, that was 6 months later, 5 months
How
later.
long did you stay
I was
here?
here 2.5 months.
Oh, were you?
And frankly, when he saw those Germans, it wouldn't have made any difference whether he had his shorts on or not. He'd have gone just the way he was.
I guess.
Il y avait cinq
Farmer's wife.
femmes ici, y
they
compris
cooked.
donc la femme
They
du
cooked
fermier.
for
Oui, parce qu'il y en avait des gens qui étaient venus de Trelon, qui s'étaient réfugiés ici.
Ah, c'est ça, oui.
Alors il dit ceci, excuse me, but I will translate exactly what you have said right now. Otherwise it might get too long and I might lose the memory. So, alors il dit que à la fin de l'occupation, quand les Américains approchaient, les collaborateurs devenaient évidemment très nerveux. Et ce qui se passait dans la pièce qui est derrière, il dit que c'était là qu'on abattait les bêtes. Apparemment, il a trouvé une très bonne mémoire de ce qui s'est passé. Now you may carry on if you wish.
Well, anyway, some places I was at, we had very little food. But here we ate.
Ils avaient un peu peur.
It was close. It was
You could hear the
It's the
artillery,
family
you
of
know,
the
for days.
people back here.
And they knew they were going to have to account
de la
for
même
their
famille qui était ici
helping
à
the
l'époque.
Germans.
Ah non,
They were
c'est un
trying to
concierge.
get good races.
Oui, c'est pas le nom.
C'est un concierge.
I thought relatives.
C'était déjà au prince de Mérode.
Oh, they were
C'était des gens,
hated.
c'était des...
They were hated.
C'était des concierges.
La ferme appartient à qui
À la princesse de Mérode.
Well, this farm and this property belongs to the Princess of Mérode. But at the time, the people who were in here were just working for the princess, you see.
I see.
They were not independent farmers,
Not the
so they just they were, you know,
C'était
servants,
ses ouvriers.
workers, you know, fine workers for the princess.
One afternoon, on a very nice day, there's a road down in the valley there, and there was a small German convoy traveling over there. And suddenly, a squadron of American fighter bomber planes came over, and they strafed that convoy, and it was just like a movie. They were coming down and shooting up that convoy.
Really?
They blew up every truck in that convoy that
Yeah, you
afternoon.
must have got a good time.
Oh, it was just ringside seat, you know.
Alors il dit ceci, un jour il y avait un convoi allemand qui passait sur la route, là-bas, et ils ont été mitraillés par des appareils américains qui les survolaient, et alors tous ces gaillés dans tous les coins, je dis c'était comme un cinéma, c'était vraiment comme un cinéma, nous étions au fauteuil d'orchestre. Voilà. Vous voyez l'affaire.
Here, Joe was with you and you
And I was standing in the doorway.
Dès que l'année passée, il aura vu la princesse, on l'a vu à un moment donné l'année passée. But that must be in Chimay then. We will meet the princess. We will visit the castle. Je ne sais pas, il dit qu'il y avait...
Je crois qu'on voit peut-être les petites tourettes dessus.
Oui, avec une loupe peut-être.
I don't know, hold it up so I can
Hold
see
it up.
Ça ne serait pas des...
Zoom in.
Yeah,
Si tu tiens pour le
that's it, then I'll zoom right in on it. Fine, now what is it we're looking at? What is that?
This building is one of the pictures.
Oh, I
This
see.
building.
This one.
The farm.
Where he hid out.
I got it, okay.
Good job.
One cannot stop progress.
Enough.
Troop train.
I know.
One day they told us that a German field marshal and his staff were going to be coming along the road.
On peut peut-être le rencontrer.
On peut peut-être
So we went out there and I had a BAR rifle. And I put this rifle up, aimed it on the road. And we waited and we waited. And by God,
Là,
by
c'est le village
3 o'clock in the
ici,
morning,
et les
here
bombes.
comes this German staff car, 3 of them,
Ça, c'est une chapelle.
just going like hell, just real fast. We shot the daylights out of them.
Really?
Yeah.
And then ran away like a bunch of
No,
rabbits.
they didn't know where we were. They were scared to death. You know, they didn't know.
Ils ont pris en embuscade par des renseignements qui venaient de long. Ils
Blew up one car.
les Anglais étaient aussi
They got out of that car,
Ils
got
savaient toujours exactement sur quelle route un convoi allait passer tel jour et ainsi de suite. Alors eux, justement, faisaient des embuscades et les Anglais venaient faire des droppings sur lui, ils mettaient les lampes. Ici, en route, voilà.
Dès le 1er septembre, on était sûr qu'il y avait un colonel qui s'était fait mourir ici. Mais...
Ah oui. And you beat the hell out of them.
We shot them up pretty good. We disabled one car and they jumped out of that car and got into another one and took off. And I know we hit some of them, but I don't know how many we damaged.
This is the farm where Snyder stayed for a few months while evading capture after we were shot down February the 8th, 1944.
Through the woods and the shells would hit the trees and explode.
We came here today just to visit, and Snyder's relating to the group some of the experiences he had while staying here.
La chenille a été atteinte. À ce moment-là, le char s'est incliné. Mais il avait en 88 le char a commencé à couler dans les bois où il se trouvait. Évidemment, ça.
De mon père.
Oui, comment dire, du château d'eau.
Oui.
That was taken from the water tower over there. The water tower.
Thank God. They took everything out of the tank. They had a box of cigars and a bottle of cognac and souvenirs. They even took the guy's belt off of him. And I don't know what they did with him. I don't know if they shot him or what.
Who's that, Howard?
Ici, le photographe pas très long.
Ah, c'est ça.
On est allé là-bas au laboratoire, il travaillait avec un jeune.
Bon,
Il nous a fait ça.
nous allons laisser ces gens-là.
While waiting for France to surrender in June 1940, Adolf Hitler set up his headquarters at Bruly-de-Pesche in the Ardennes forest for 3 weeks. To make sure the area was safe for Hitler, 29 nearby villages were forcibly evacuated from their homes. The Nazis also rounded up intellectuals, including Paul Delahaye's father, who was a school teacher and principal, and held them hostage during Hitler's stay to ensure his security.
Called Hitler's bunker. I don't know, when he was here, they kept him here. I guess this is a safe place.
C'est ici.
le 21 juin, au Compiègne, afin d'assister dans le wagon historique de novembre 1918 à la lecture par le général Kettel du préambule des conditions d'armistice. Van hieruit vertrekt hij op 21 juni naar Compiègne om er in de historische wagon van november 1918 de lezing van de inleiding tot de voorwaarden van wapenstilstand bij te wonen. Laten we Kettel horen.
Der historische Wald von Compiègne bestimmt wurde.
These pictures here are obviously taken during Hitler's stay here in 1940.
Of the walls?
Oh, 5, 6, 7 feet thick, yeah.
He was here. What do you receive?
From what we understand, this is Hitler's shelter in 1940 while waiting the French capitulation, which happened much sooner than was anticipated. They built this particular building as a shelter to house Hitler while awaiting the capitulation. He stayed at this location.
On the left, in the middle of both rings, you can still see the place of the chalet built south of the platform and to their former location. Before 1940, the stillness of those woods was only broken into one tiara of the pilgrimage to the royal patron Saint-Mary's Fontaine.
Who's that guy that the sign is holding up? Oh. Is that Musial?
Over here?
That's gotta be
this is Joe Musial.
There's Hitler's wife.
Yep.
Eva Braun. Eva Braun.
Red hair too. And prettier. Red hair.
Let's see.
I wish somebody would tell me why you're here. Huh?
Tell them why we're here.
Other
We're here so we
than
can salute Hitler.
Eleanor, why don't you pay attention to me?
Oh, why are we here? Should we have to tell the truth? We're here because this is the 45th anniversary of our parachuting into these two lovely countries.
I'm going to hire Slenker as my friend.
There you go. What are you taking my picture for from there? I mean, you want the
You know this beautiful lady here? Huh?
I think we've met. I think we've
Eleanore
met.
Musial.
I really think
She's
we've met.
from Miami,
You tell us
Florida.
I think we've met a time or two.
And she's here to keep an eye on her husband.
She's really an undercover agent.
Okay, good.
He's fine. Not a Harry. That's not
The Cendron Memorial in Forge-Philippe marks the location where the first U.S. troops entered Belgium to liberate the country from 4 years of Nazi occupation and oppression. At 9:30 in the morning on September 2, 1944, soldiers of the U.S. 9th Infantry Division crossed over the Wartroise River from France into Belgium. The memorial depicts liberty freeing the country from the chains of oppression and slaying the Nazi tyrant.
know the exact name of this monument, but I believe this is the spot where the Americans crossed the border on September 2nd, 1944. Read it off.
The first American troops landed here in Belgium on this date, the 2nd of September, 1944.
At 9 hours.
At 9:30
a.m.
a.m.
Where?
Over there where that sign is, it said, near the sign, Belgium this way.
5 miles. We parachute.
At this spot on September 2nd, 1944, the American crossed the border into Belgium. This is the way it looks now in 1989. This is a trout fish hatchery here at this spot. I understand we're going to have a celebration of some type here in a few days for Belgium.
While at the home of Jack and Jeannine Gondry, pilot Howard Snyder, tail gunner Bill Slenker, and flight engineer top turret gunner Kyle Roy Holbert talk about their wartime experiences.
We saw a door open from a house off the side of the road.
Brisk, would you start again?
No.
No, they've offered it. I know, but I want it on the tape. That's the kind of stuff I want on the tape.
Oh, she's the boss.
Okay.
All right.
You know.
Would you start off?
I know.
Well, now you know. You got the word from the horse's mouth here, Joe.
Good.
You're right. No, that was,
Right,
I meant that as a compliment.
He always calls you a horse when he wants a compliment. Of course.
Well, anyway, when I was, you want me to start over?
Yes, please.
All right. The first night I was in a farmhouse in Macquenoise.
I don't know what.
And the next day, and I felt better then, so they were going to leave me right away because the Germans were all over the place looking for me. And Paul Tilkay was a customs officer at the border. The customs men dressed like Belgian and French soldiers with a pillbox hats, you know, the way you see them in the pictures in World War I, and a long khaki cape that came almost all the way to the ground. Exactly. Cape. So he got me a cap like this and a cape, and I wore that looking like a Belgian customs officer. We set out on this trip from Macquenoise to Chimay with a tandem bicycle, and I would pump with this one foot. When the sprocket came around and the pedal came up, I'd give it a kick with my right foot because I couldn't put any pressure on the left. And Paul was having a hard time pumping both of us, and going uphill he couldn't, so I'd get off and walk the bicycle with the leaning on the bicycle like a crutch. It was pitch black, raining and cold, and we came up this one hill, and I was walking with the side of the bicycle, and we heard some women and men's voices, and a door opened from a building on the side of the road, on the right side. And as we got up to the crest of the hill, it was a cafe, like the Café de Musée here. And these two guys came out, and they were German Luftwaffe officers. They were crocked, you know. They were feeling no pain, and the two girls with them weren't feeling any pain either, and they were laughing and giggling, and they had their arms around each other. They walked out to the road, and we met just as we got to the crest of the hill, these two German Luftwaffe officers, and Paul and I. And this German Luftwaffe officer, he comes over to me and he starts talking to me in German. He throws his arm around my neck and, you know, and leaning all over me and jabbering away, real friendly.
You didn't know
And I didn't know what to do. I kept my mouth shut. And
good.
So Paul whipped out a box of matches out of his pocket and handed it to the guy. That guy was asking me for a box of matches to light a cigarette. I mean, he wanted to talk. You know, people get when they get tight, they are more gregarious. So he wanted to talk there, and we must have stood there for a couple of minutes, this guy and his friend, the other officer, talking, and the girls giggling away, and Paul made an excuse to get away, and finally we walked away, and I often thought, apparently there was an Air Force base near Chimay there, and
There is.
These fellas was
It's a
from the Air Force
FW-190
base.
field.
I thought to myself, if this guy knew who the heck he was talking to, wouldn't that be a coincidence? He could even be one of the pilots that attacked us, you know. We didn't know. But,
Well, one place that I hid at, I hid with a Russian submarine officer. And I was there about a week. And he and I would play cards, and we would discuss politics. He in broken French, and me in broken French. And I would have loved to have a recording of that. But there's Russian, French, and English French. And he was most certain that there was no one any good in the world except the Americans and the Russians.
Well, he liked Americans.
Oh yeah, he liked Americans. So we played cards, and
we were giving him all
he
that
was telling me,
lemonade.
he would tell me what a vicious guy he was, and what he was going to do to the Germans and this and that. So one night we're playing, and I had never seen a French, this was in France, I'm pretty sure, I had never seen a mailman, a mail carrier, but they wore uniforms that were very similar to a military uniform.
Yeah, that's right.
And this guy knocked firmly on the door and opened it up, and here was this military-looking man, and this Russian pulls out this Luger, and I knocked his hand down. He was going to shoot this guy right on the spot. He thought he was a German soldier. And from there on, I believed he was vicious. The day of liberation, we were out on the streets. We took a walk. We went up to the square, and they were shaving the heads of all the collaborators, the women, and they would say, Bill, you want to go up and shave? No. The Russian, bad. He was right up there. And he was shaving heads like, oh, he was a holy terror, this guy. But there had been at least 2 or 3 Russians. One or two of them were in the hospital.
What was a Russian submarine guy doing in
He had escaped. He had escaped from a prisoner of war camp somewhere, and maybe Ostend or somewhere where and he was a submarine officer.
Place where you stayed?
No, this was another place.
Right. What happened to you to begin with? You were shot down. You were in a tree.
You went to the hospital first.
Yeah.
Here in Chimay.
Yeah, and the same hospital as Joe and Kyle.
No, Kyle wasn't there.
No, Kyle was in a different hospital. Daniel's Joe and I. And I remember seeing through the glass in the window in the door, there was a German soldier walking down the aisle.
Well, it was all German, under German control.
So they fluoroscoped my leg, and to see just how much damage it was, because I couldn't walk. And
Well, when you went in, who did they tell you? Who did they tell?
they sneaked me in the back door, or sneaked me in some door, because 2 men had one on each side of me, and they hustled me in. They put me under the fluoroscope, and
there would be someone there that would.
Germans never knew you were there, obviously.
No.
Thank goodness.
It was the same Russian woman doctor who had operated on Danny and me, who removed the shrapnel from Bill.
Where was it that you were with the
That was in the Chimay clinic.
Oh, it was in a small village, like Momani.
But that was before they took you.
No, after. There was a Gestapo. There was an investigation. Someone knew. I was told that someone knew that there was an American flyer hiding in Chimay. So they were going to make, word got around that they were going to make a house-to-house search. So this Monsieur Delport, he was the head of of the underground in that area, the resistance.
That's right.
And he had an automobile. He was a city engineer. So hop in the car in broad daylight, and we're driving, passing all the soldiers and all. We passed the corner, and all the patriots knew that I was a flyer. Everyone wanted to look at me.
Yeah, you were a curiosity.
Yeah, and everybody knew I was the
They would invite people over to the house to have a party to show you off.
Yeah, so here we're going down the street.
And cognac.
And everybody that was a patriot knew that I was in the car, and they wanted to see who that guy looked like. And we turn a corner and we go like this, you know, and waving back to them, and the Germans walking down the street. Oh, I was terrified. But then we went out in the country, and I stayed at this house, and I never did know. These people didn't know a word of English, and at that time it was very soon after I was shot down, and I never did know any of the grammar. I eventually learned a lot of nouns, you know, a few. You know.
use your hands a lot.
Yeah. And but anyway, there was absolutely no communication. But that was the place, and I don't want to repeat that story, but they had this Flemish dog, this great big
Malinois.
Yeah. And that dog was trained to bark every time the German's heels would click on the cobblestones or whatever. And every time that German soldier would walk by, it would bark, and they'd say, "Another soldat allemand." Oh yeah, they were coming up and down that street all day. Every time I'd hear the dog bark, I was awake.
Kyle, tell us your story.
The other day, about the Luftwaffe officer came in that night, introduced himself. He said, "I'm the one that shot you down."
Oh.
He said, "This was a game of war." Says, "I hated it had to be you."
Oh.
But he spoke good English. Said he went to school in Rochester, New York. And after he left...
Well, they took the educated ones. He was probably an educated...
I asked him how old he was. He said 19. And after they left, the nurse told me, he said, he's one of the aces.
One of the aces?
Oh.
Well, I'm glad we weren't shot down by any mediocre fighter pilot.
Yeah, we'll shoot it.
That was nice. He said he was sorry.
I'm glad he was an ace. Our son bought a beautiful home in West County of St. Louis, and the guy that came to his house to do the work, the paper hand, was an ace in the Luftwaffe. And he says, "I want to meet your father." He says, "He shot down so many American bombers." He said he used to feel sorry for them. He says, what was your father, a pilot?" My son said, "No, he was a tail gunner." He says, "I'd like to meet your father." He says, "Please bring him over." Well, this guy hung some paper for our son, and they became good friends. He was going to fly them in a company jet. He did all kinds of work around. He still had his finger in flying with one of the Anheuser-Busch jets in a company pilot. He was going to fly them to South America. He says he had some friends from the war that were living over in Argentina, and he wanted our son Dan and Molly and a couple of their friends. He could fly 6 of them over there. He said, "This guy lives in a beautiful mansion." I guess it was one of these SS guys, you know. And this guy said that he showed Dan pictures of himself in this book. He was a German ace, and he said, I forget how many American planes he shot down. Whereas American aces shoot down 5, you know. Those guys shoot down dozens and dozens of planes. And
You mean in the German Army?
in the Air Force. German Air Force. He said he felt sorry. He said he felt sorry for the Americans. They were shooting them out. Well, they were going down like, you know, they 60 in one raid, you know, Schweinfurt.
A torchlight ceremony is held at Monceau-Imbrechies. The memorial there marks the location where the first U.S. troops were killed in the liberation of Belgium on September 2, 1944. There, 12 headstones represent the men who died. A white star representing the U.S. Army sits atop the shape of Belgium.
Delahaye, I am what do you mean? I am
David, chociaż Sadora też mi tam otwierał
The captain, where is the captain? The captain, where is it?
Oui, alors on verra tout.
C'est pas non, je sais pas.
I got you.
Émile.
Je suis la petite arrête.
Les premiers à offrir leur vie pour notre liberté, et seul leur idéal les avait guidés ici. Ils voulaient que la paix s'installe dans le monde, et le bien-être que nous connaissons actuellement, nous leur devons car ils ont payé de leur vie. Aussi, la Fondation belgo-américaine a-t-elle jugé de son devoir de commémorer chaque année cette journée historique, si joyeuse pour nous et qui plongeait dans la tristesse et le deuil 12 familles américaines, et leurs descendants pensent peut-être maintenant, mais qu'allaient-ils faire là-bas? Qu'ils sachent que leurs aînés, ils ont perdu la vie, ils ont conquis l'immortalité. Ce soir, nous avons parmi nous les 4 survivants de la forteresse tombée à Macquenoise de 8 madame d'équipage, et ils ont voulu assister à cette petite cérémonie du souvenir et se recueillir avec nous sur ce premier champ de bataille. Monsieur Holbert et Slenker.
Howard never knew that he had such a talented crew.
At the home of Dr. Paul and Christiane Delahaye, pilot Howard Snyder tries on his World War II Eisenhower jacket, which he donated to the Museum 4044, located near the memorial at Monceau-Imbrechies. Paul Delahaye was the founder of the Belgian American Foundation and host of the B-17 Susan Ruth crew members and their wives.
Too much charge. Trop de tarte, beaucoup de charge. Yeah. Okay.
De tarte.
Okay. Somebody take that camera,
You're a handsome man.
All right, now just stand there, face me for a minute. Let me zoom in on you a bit.
I won't be able to get into this in a week.
You won't be able to do it tomorrow. Okay.
I'm that way too. If you want to get me a gift, perfume is it.
Yeah. On the dresser upstairs, there's two, looks like three Waterford crystal. Waterford. Do they make Waterford? Is Waterford crystal come from here?
The engineer
Where is it come from?
he was the head of all the enlisted.
Well, there's three pieces there that I know that I think I know.
You were the Waterford comes from England, huh?
England. Oh, I was born in England. Her roots. Do you know that they're Waterford crystal or not?
It would say on the bottom. No, Waterford doesn't.
They do now, but a long time ago they didn't. In biggest part. They just started about, when did they start?
It's easy
Not
to
long
translate,
ago.
just quite a distance. Only not even a couple of hours. Just long enough. But I mean, from here, you know, at least 90 to 100 miles.
Where do you do that?
El
quoi? Oh, where? Paris? How long you stay in Paris?
Ta mère, elle est terrible.
Dr. Paul Delahaye, founder of the Belgian American Foundation, leads the dedication ceremony of the B-17 Susan Ruth Memorial on the property of the Distillery Farm, where the bomber crashed down 45 years earlier. Officers from the U.S. 424th Air Base Squadron and from the Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe make comments. Jack Gondry translate Dr. Delahaye's comments. Pilot Howard Snyder speaks and honors three of his Belgian helpers who came to his aid while he was missing in action. Jeannine, who hid Howard on 2 occasions, Nellie Tilquin, wife of Belgian Customs Officer Paul Tilquin, and Raymond Dervin, who was one of the men who helped Howard get down from the trees his parachute was tangled in after he bailed out of his B-17.
Si je te louerai parmi les nations, Seigneur, je jouerai pour ton nom. Dieu de miséricorde et de salut, dans les temps anciens, n'as-tu pas libéré ton peuple de la servitude d'Égypte? N'as-tu pas accompagné ton enfant Israël tout au long de son voyage à travers le désert, le protégeant sans cesse de ses adversaires, lui offrant même une terre de liberté? Dieu de tendresse et d'amour, n'es-tu pas celui qui a éduqué Israël comme un homme éduque son enfant, afin de le rendre capable d'exercer sa liberté et de se garder de tout nouvel esclavage? Dieu de fidélité et de justice, par-dessus tout, n'as-tu pas purifié le cœur de tes fidèles par la parole des prophètes, pour qu'il échappe à la pire des tyrannies, celle du péché? N'as-tu pas changé le cœur de pierre de tes élus en un cœur de chair, capable d'aimer, de vivre libre de tout asservissement intérieur? Nous voulons aujourd'hui te remercier pour ceux qui, par leur générosité, même par le don de leur vie, nous ont délivrés de l'occupation étrangère et nous ont rendu la liberté et l'indépendance.
Ils étaient partis de Bedford le 8 février 1944. Équipage uni, entraîné, soudé par la même mission, la même peur, les mêmes angoisses, et mission accomplie au-dessus de Francfort, ils regagnaient leur base anglaise, inquiets des avaries subies. Le retour était long, le ciel dangereux, et l'irréparable devait se produire au retour. La destinée de ces 10 hommes se jouait en quelques secondes entre Couvaille et Macquenoise, à l'instant où un Focus 190 parvenait à percer la couverture du B-17 et l'atteindre mortellement.
They had taken off from Bedford, England, on February 8, 1944. A well-knit and trained crew, united by the same duty, sometimes by the same fear, the same anguish. And as they had finished their bombing run on Frankfurt, Germany, they were heading toward their station, worried about some damages through a burst of flak. The journey back was long, the sky dangerous, and the unavoidable doom is to happen on the way back. The destiny of those 10 men had to be forged in a matter of seconds between Couvaille and Macquenoise. At the instant when a Focke-Wulf 190 bullets managed to pierce the protection of the B-17 and inflict her some deadly wounds.
Bonjour mes amis. Comment ça va? When I was in Belgium for 8 months in 1984, 44. I learned conversational French, but unfortunately I've forgotten it. However, I do remember one question. Voulez-vous promener avec moi, mademoiselle? It is good to be in your beautiful country again. When I was here in May of '88, I was thrilled to meet old friends and attend the monument dedication ceremonies at Monceau-Imbrechies. Now this is even a greater pleasure. When my comrades and I were shot down on February 8, 1944, we of course never thought that some of us would be attending the dedication ceremonies of a monument with our names on it. We feel honored to be here. We humbly acknowledge the love and friendship you extend to us by inviting us here today. But I am sure my comrades will agree with me when I say that this beautiful monument and your expression of gratitude is not necessarily for us, but for all Allied airmen who fought over the skies of Europe during World War II. We thank Dr. Paul Delahaye and the Foundation Belgian American, as well as everyone who assisted and participated in this memorial event. We also thank the doctor and the Foundation for their gracious and friendly hospitality. As has been previously said, of the 10 members of my crew, 2 were killed in the plane, 3 were shot in the back and killed by German SS troops very near here. 3 were wounded and taken prisoner. And 2 of us were very fortunate to escape capture. To all the many brave and patriotic Belgians who risked their lives to hide me, feed me, clothe me, dress my wounds, and became my good friends, I will forever owe a great debt of gratitude. As far as I know, only 4 of those patriots are still alive. Of those 4, Madame Maurice Bayou is in a nursing home not too far from here and is too ill to attend today. However, I am pleased that Madame Paul Coquet, who lives nearby in Daly, and Monsieur Raymond Dervin and Madame Andre Godin are here. Will they please step forward?
Autant que je sache, Madame Maurice Badieu et dans un instant Godin sont ici également. Voulez-vous, s'il vous plaît, approcher?
Madame Godin was a member of the Maquis. She served as a courier, among other activities. She was captured and tortured by the Gestapo. She hit me on 2 separate occasions. She was and is a very brave patriot. She, her husband Henri, as well as her lovely family, are very dear friends. When I parachuted from my burning plane, my parachute caught between two tall trees, and I was too weak to get out of my chute. Raymond Devant and two of his friends got me out of the trees and hid me in the woods. Without Raymond's help, I would have been captured. And her husband, Paul, were very kind to me. Paul Tilquet took me by bicycle from Macquenoise to Chimay, where we were stopped by two German Air Force officers. However, I was dressed in Paul's uniform as a customs officer, and they didn't recognize me as an American airman. An organization called the Air Force Escape and Evasion Society. This organization is comprised of American airmen shot down in combat who escaped capture. Its purpose is for the camaraderie of its members, but mainly to identify, thank, and honor those individuals who helped those airmen escape and evade capture. Madame Gaden, Raymond Devant, and Madame Tilquet, it is with a heart full of thanks that I wish to present you with these pins, which signify that you are honorary members of the United States Air Force Escape and Evasion Society. How do you remember, huh? You're one of them. I also wish to present you with these citations that acknowledge your help. They are signed by the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan.
After the dedication ceremony, there was a big party during which the Susan Ruth crew members and their wives enjoyed the local Chimay beer and listening to big band music.
Get Bill, he's with the Collet sisters. The two ladies next to him.
After the B-17 Susan Ruth was shot down, tail gunner Bill Slenker stayed at the Chimay home of Josephine Collet and her 2 daughters, Paula and Gisele, until the area was liberated by the 1st U.S. Army on September 2, 1944. After 45 years, they are reunited.
This is the grand house here. They have warehouses and the gate and everything.
But they got grapes growing in the hothouse way on all the ceiling, but Paula said it's too old, they're not any good anymore. But it's so beautiful and picturesque, you know, in a hothouse with grapes over it. Ah, merci. Merci.
They have new, Paula built new toilet here. They used to have one in the back, and a whole new toilet.
Fine?
Yes. Fine.
And then it's 3 stories.
L'avant-dernier, on avait été volé, hein, il n'était pas... Je l'ai vu tout de suite, mais elle avait accepté qu'il l'amène, alors moi c'était une fois. Mais sinon, il n'était pas drôle. Il n'avait pas...
He said if Marcus would get me, I'd go to Germany and...
Français, huh?
Gestapo.
You spoke to... Everybody wants Paula to play the piano.
Originally a small animal barn, This building was transformed into a museum that contains memorabilia from World War II. It is located in Monceau-Imbrechies, near the memorial to the first U.S. troops that were killed. Dr. Paul Delahaye gives the group a tour of the artifacts, and Jack Gondry translates. Much to the surprise of tail gunner Bill Slenker, one of the items is his Air Force identification bracelet.
Yeah. We were coming back on the road from Neuville-au-Just. Yeah. And I explained this is the road First Army entered Belgium. Remember I said that?
Uh-huh.
Well, in fact, they came during the night of the 1st to the 2nd. And they met, or they were met, by an inhabitant of Monceau who was there, you know. And they told him, tomorrow we liberate Belgium. That fellow is still alive, you know. He lived in the village here. He was at all the ceremonies. Then they arrived the second day, on the 2nd, and you see, at the Belgian customs.
Cendron.
Cendron, you see, at 9:30, the first recce, they go across the Macquenoise, which is the river, small river, where they are, you know, breeding those trouts. There, see, these are the first G's. And this lady, this lady, she was Belgian, she was living on the other side of the forest, you know, at the first sign of the custom, see? And she came across the wood just to see if the Germans were still there. They had gone, so she went back and told the Yanks that the Boche have gone, see? So they entered Belgium. There you are. 9th Division, 60th Regiment. There they are.
9th Division.
9th Division.
60th Regiment.
60th Regiment. That's right.
That's the 9th Infantry or 9th Armored?
Yeah.
Which one?
Well, that would be mechanized. That would be that was a mechanized infantry.
Mechanized infantry. Yeah. C'était de l'infanterie mécanisée.
Oui, c'est ça, oui. The first prisoner,
German war prisoner here, taken. You see?
Our museum.
That's a museum, of course. Of course, all these photographs, all the black and whites, were taken on the very day of the liberation. That is on September 2, September 2nd, you see? They were taken by anonymous people, well, they're not so anonymous. But
look at all the children are all dressed up.
And it's incredible the number of photographs that have been taken that day, with the means that they had. You understand what I mean?
Right.
3 first, these, proches these. Les 3 premiers prisonniers, premiers soldats.
The first,
what was that from?
They were coming from Macon.
Yeah.
You know that the Americans were here, in fact. You know, they were here to stop.
Et là, c'est l'occupation de Macon, ils se lancent vers.
And well,
destroy.
that is, you know, all the vehicles in Macon. You recognize here. 5 p.m. it's finished. Macon is occupied. You know, they go through it.
Ça, c'est l'Alsacien qui est venu apporter avec le SS, qui m'a apporté le boîte de dimanche, le boîte de munitions.
Un Alsacien, il habitait
En Alsace.
Et il est dimanche?
Il était dans les SS, oui. De force.
Oh, yeah. C'est lequel?
C'est le blond.
This one was
Honoré Wang.
A Frenchman, an Alsatian from Alsace. He had been drafted by the Germans because they wanted to take, they took Alsace-Lorraine, you know, in 1940. So he was drafted. And of course, he was there on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And this he was drafted by force. Wow, this is, you know, the lint tree there.
Yeah,
No, this is Macon. Macon.
Oh.
Yeah, that's near the church.
Oh, I see.
You know that tree that's supported by wood, you know?
That's a tree, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tree, that's in Macon.
How old is that tree? Very old?
15th century. 15th century.
Nobody pointed that out to me. I hope we passed it again.
All that's in Macon. All that's in Macon.
Ça, c'est la libération de Beauvais, non?
And that's in Beauvais?
39e régiment.
Liberation of Beauvais, where Emile and Evelyn lived?
Show me where.
No.
C'est Forge-Philippe around here somewhere.
Langs.
Well, here. Oh yeah, that's right, here. That's right.
You're gonna give a nice big mark.
Right.
You're gonna mark it off the next time it comes.
Alors ça ici, c'est la forteresse B-17.
They'll cross with the first specs is cut out of our windshield. Cut out of the first specs of the windshield.
Des obus de 88 dans le...
Piece of the German bullets that were found into the fortress. In the rams of the fortress.
20 millimeter?
Mais ça vient des sapins ici ou des Allemands qui l'ont 88.
Ah, bon.
Is this my map?
Non. Au-dessus. Maintenant, le car is 1004 de l'avion.
First specs.
Wat dan met car?
Mr. Tilcat.
Where's your
first specs?
Plane.
From the plane.
This from your B-17.
From the B-17.
B-17.
Are you listening, Joe?
This from Musial. Musial, Holbert, or...
One of your guns.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
From the B-17.
Bill, where's this?
Was that your gun, your bullet, your billets? That was Bill's billets.
It's mine.
Yeah, it's yours. Okay.
Paula.
Oh my goodness.
Stay alive.
Oh my goodness.
Don't die.
Paula, Slenker is
Not now. Not now.
Good God, where did that thing come from?
Yeah. Found, you know.
Found it by the airplane?
What's his name? Oh my gosh.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
I got it.
Oh, he can't believe
You
that.
have to take care.
I can't believe that.
Okay, we'll go to the cafe.
Oh my God. He can't take all of this in one day.
We can give you a trapeze right on top. We have a bar. There's a bar.
I don't even remember having that. Well, I held 45 years.
45, voilà.
I guess it came off of me when I'm there.
Sure, when you went out.
Souvenir.
See?
Good.
Oh, gosh. Can you
But you're
believe
still alive.
that?
That's the main point.
That's it.
Voilà.
Staff Sergeant, obviously. Son of a
You're
gun.
the well son of a gun. You're the son of
Holy
a gun.
cow. Somebody's got my jacket and my leather name. I wish you'd get it. You know, the leather jacket's worn out. I don't think they burned them. I think they wore them. I would.
Now, see, they didn't have the upstairs finished when we were last year. They just had downstairs. Now they finished this all up here. Now.
Kyle here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're...
He used to be back here.
Bill isn't changed a bit.
Quiet.
Yeah. He's still up, you know, look at that.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yep, sorry.
Yeah, this is what let me get out of the way. Oh, geez, oh, God.
Canadian.
Terrible.
To Jeff.
Oh, in 19 August 42, first landing, dress rehearsal in Dieppe. Remember that? Dress rehearsal, yeah. 5,100 servicemen, especially Canadians, occupied a few square miles from 5 in the morning to 1:30 in the afternoon. 1,452 will go back to England. 3,648 will be killed prisoners in France.
Did you ever go there?
Rehearsal, dress rehearsal. They learned not to land on that side of the beach, with all the, pebbles, you see, because it stopped the tank, see. It was dress rehearsal.
They learned something.
Oh, yeah, they learned a lot. Sure did.
Ah, ça c'est Erget.
That's it.
Erget Florent.
Arctic escape map right there.
On a parlé de l'erected à Florence.
Ouais, et il était à Florence, ça, je n'ai pas.
Ah oui, ils en ont parlé, tu
Yeah, German major was stationed in Florence. He had a lot of victories, apparently.
Ils avaient 40 000 Allemands et pas avec eux, ça c'est victorieux. Ils avaient liquidé 8 avions, et ça c'est à chaud, pas de concentration.
Concentration camp, that's right.
That was terrible. Yeah, we went through that.
We went to Dachau, didn't we?
Dachau, yeah.
Dachau.
Voilà, voilà. La résistance.
Now, where are the boots gonna go?
Maquis.
Now, where are the boots going to go? Howard Snyder's boots. With his name on it.
Avec la veste blanche dans le vitrine.
Where are the books? Did Howard see them?
Not yet.
Okay, so which will go into the shop window over there, you know?
Avec la veste.
With the jacket.
I see.
Oh, yeah, I'll be happy about it. Yeah.
Alors j'ai vu leur prix ce soir.
They look short, just don't come off.
You know what that picture is?
This one here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I sent all these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I mailed all these. I asked Russ Strong to get them for me from the 306 Echoes. And he had them enlarged and sent them to me. There's one here that I don't quite... There's another one here that... They're dropping.
But now they're getting down
this
some rare places.
Well, where'd this come from? You know, I mean, it's not coming in this string or this string. It looks almost like it's a rocket being fired. You see?
Yeah.
It's the shelter.
And this guy's a little late. He hadn't dropped his bomb yet, so these are all gone. This guy's.
He's liable to drop them on just the buzz the problem.
And you put it on the water, in the water, and it comes back. It exploded. Because it was inflated. Yeah, you feel it.
They told us we wanted to find it. We asked.
We called them to float. Floating show.
Go out.
Someone floated. Burn barley. Here. Take the coffee.
Whatever it was, 2 or 3 in the morning. Said, you know, I was just so-and-so, briefing, take out and so-and-so. What? I said, it can't be. I said, go out. So, when we took off, I was breathing straight oxygen.
This is looking toward the monument from the museum, which is a stable where the lieutenant was killed. And this is where the first 12 Americans were killed during the Belgian liberation on September 2nd, 1944. And they've taken the stable and converted it into what is now a beautiful little museum. This is the stable, which of course is now the museum located here at Monceau-Imbrechies, and just right there you can see the flagpole sticking up. That is the monument. When Howard and I were here in 1988 for the dedication of this museum and this monument at Monceau-Imbrechies, the stable had just one floor, but since then they've converted the second floor, which obviously was the loft of the stable, into a second floor of the museum, and they've got it all full of memorabilia, and a lot of it pertaining to our crew and our squadron.
Yeah, they want you to.
Everybody.
Yeah, I will.
Jack Gondry aussi.
Oh.
This memorial marks the location where the first U.S. troops were killed in the liberation of Belgium on September 2nd, 1944. There are 12 headstones representing the men who died. A white star representing the U.S. Army sits atop the outline of Belgium. Dr. Paul Delahaye relates, and Jack Gondry translates, the battle that occurred that day between the 105 howitzers and Sherman tanks of the U.S. 1st Army, 9th Infantry Division, who were on the hill, and the Tiger tanks of the Waffen-SS 2nd Panzer Division down below in the valley in the village of Macquenoise.
Here. Back here. Yes, for Belgium. This is Belgium.
That's Belgium's map.
Belgium.
That's Belgium's map.
And the star comes
No,
in
that's not
Belgium
Belgium.
to
That's the
Monceau-Imbrechies.
province of Hainaut.
There.
The star
I think, isn't that the province? Is this Belgium or the province of Hanoi? Is this Belgium?
Yeah,
that's Belgium.
I thought it was the province of Hanoi.
Oh, no, that's Belgium.
Huh?
That's the entire
Okay, I'm glad you corrected.
La 2e SS Panzer Division se trouve à Macquenoise depuis le 31 août.
2nd Panzer Division SS. Oh, well, I mean, elements, detachments, are in Macquenoise since the 31st of August. Down over there. See?
Le calvaire, il est là.
Ah, oui.
Là-bas, juste là. On le voit là, ça pointe. Au-dessus de la Maison Blanche, la Maison toute neuve, et puis au-dessus de la Maison Blanche, c'est ça. Vous voyez la dernière petite Maison Blanche, la grande route là-bas.
Ah oui, là-bas, oui,
juste à côté de
dans le petit bouquet d'arbres.
Et
c'est ça.
Ils sont installés là, ils ne se sauvent pas, ils attendent. Hein. C'est des gens qui attendent, qui ralentissent l'avance américaine.
I'll show you where they are. You follow my arm, my finger over there. You see? One down there. You see, there's a red one, house. White one on the side, another one a little further up, and then in between those trees on top, there's a cavalry there. See? Like this. And the Germans were situated over there.
Là,
and over there too. Of course. But well, and one of their guns, the 88, was over there. You see? Pointing to this side. But they were waiting for the Americans.
Non, ils attendaient de Trélon, Momigny, Macquenoise.
And they were expecting the American army from the direction of Trélon. Trélon is right over there. Right over there, in the fire on the line of horizon, And from Momigny.
Momigny et Macquenoise, en passant par Momigny. Parce qu'ils savent que les Américains sont venus par Vervins, Vervins-Hirson.
They know that the Americans came to the French town of Vervins and Hirson.
Ils ne se sauvent pas, ils attendent.
They just stay, just to slow down the advance of the First Army, First American Army.
Alors le 2 septembre, à 11h, ils ne voient jamais personne arriver.
On 2nd of September, 11 in the morning, they see nothing happening and they see nobody coming.
Pour la bonne raison qu'ils viennent de Brunamel, Neuville-aux-Joutes, Cendron, trajet couvert de fer, Cendron, Seloigne, Monceau. Donc ils viennent dans le dos. Les Américains les encerclent déjà.
In fact, they are already encircled by the Americans and they still don't know it, you see? Because the Americans come from Cendron and some other place, they come all that way around.
Spearheads.
Pour encercler les spirales, c'est ça le gros. Alors les Américains arrivent ici vers 11h15.
They arrive here, you know that they cross the border around 9:30. They
Ils arrivent devant le café là-bas.
Near the cafe, around 11:15. The Yanks.
Et à ce moment-là, les Allemands envoient une auto de reconnaissance qui monte de leur place ici.
At the same time, the Germans come up here with a car, a few of them, just for a recce. See what I mean?
Les Allemands les surveillent du calvaire là-bas.
And the other Germans are looking for them.
Ils n'ont pas de radio à bord.
They don't have a radio on board, so they try to see them what they are doing, coming up the hill.
Et les Américains qui sont là envoient une auto blindée à la rencontre parce qu'ils l'ont vu monter.
And at the same time, the Americans who are there at the side of the cafe send an armored vehicle down the road because they have seen the Germans coming up.
Et ils se rencontrent juste dans le tournant, on va y passer tantôt.
And they meet each other right in the bend, the bend of the road. We do it every day, so you know where the bend is.
Les Allemands sont surpris, veulent faire demi-tour et se sauver. Il tombe dans le fossé.
It's a complete surprise for the Germans, and they want to back up, you know, turn around, but they just go down to the ditch.
Alors il y en a 3 qui sautent en bas de la voiture tous. Il y en a un qui lève les bras, les 3 autres veulent courir vers Mâcon.
And they all come out of the car. One raises his arms, and the 2 other ones want to run, you know, on foot to Mâcon.
Et l'automitrailleuse brûle le liquide.
And then they're killed instantly by a machine gun from the Americans.
Il y en a qui a une balle de mitrailleuse près à 50 dans la jambe, un peu comme chose, et puis il va mourir dans le village. Alors, les Allemands qui ont vu l'interception de là-bas, tournent tous les canons par ici et commencent à bombarder ici.
Then, of course, the Germans over there, down in the valley, you know, have seen what happened. Then they turn around all their guns and they start, you know, firing to this direction.
Alors, les Américains remontent vite et se mettent à l'abri un peu.
So the Americans come back and try to find shelter.
Et il y en a 12 de tués, le major, un lieutenant et 10 soldats.
A major, a lieutenant, and 10 enlisted men.
Et j'ai appris qu'un des soldats qui était mort, il y avait un mur ici au pied. Et un des soldats qui était mort au pied, ça doit être une grenade qui a explosé en se couchant.
Ah.
Au pied du mur.
And there used to be a wall here around. And apparently we know now that one of the enlisted men who got killed there, he got through a grenade that exploded, you know, while he was trying to lie there, you see? Grenade exploding in his, so he had the belly all into bits and pieces.
Et les combats durent pendant 3 heures.
And then the combat we had a duration of about 3 hours.
Les 105 et les chars, 75, les Sherman, et alors eux avec leurs 88, et les Panzers, les Tigres, qui là, il y a une dizaine de chars à Mâcon.
There are about 10 tanks, Tiger, you know, in Mâcon, with 88 firing, and the Americans are firing from Solwine. Ça?
Oui, oui, les 108,
with the 105, caliber 105, and 75, et encore quel autre calibre?
Lequel ça?
Ben, les Américains,
105, les 75 de Sherman et les 105.
Yeah, the 105 of the artillery and the 75 from the Sherman tanks.
Et les Américains se rendent compte qu'il y a un observateur qui se trouve dans le bois là-bas, derrière le clocher.
Now, and then the Americans noticed that it must be a German.
Dans un sapin,
a pine tree behind the spear, you know, of the church, and that he is observing and directing the artillery fire from over there.
Parce que les tirs ne se font plus de Mâcon, mais de Bève derrière la colline.
Because then the firing doesn't come from Mâcon anymore,
Après
but from the French village on the other side of the hill in France, from Bève, you see.
Et ils sont
and
précis.
he's directing the firing.
Et comme ils sont précis, c'est quelqu'un qui les guide.
Yeah, so as the fire is very precise, it must be somebody who is directing the fire.
Et ils envoient un commando qui va le tuer dans l'arc.
And then there's a small commando of Americans that will go down the hill, and they will find the guy and they will kill him, you know, in his tree.
Alors à ce moment-là, il est 14 heures, il n'y a plus de tirs précis, puisque la vigie est tuée, et les Américains reculent, ils font le plein d'essence et de munitions, et à 15 heures, ils attaquent Mâcon.
Then at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, there's no more precise firing toward here, so the Americans back up, they refuel, you know, and they prepare to go down.
Ils sont roués.
And at 1 hour later, they attack Mâcon and it's all finished.
Et alors quand ils arrivent à Mâcon, il n'y a presque plus personne, puisqu'ils se sont sauvés.
And then when they reach Mâcon, there's practically no one left because, you know, they all scattered and, you know, they go to any
Par les Fagnes, ils seront rattrapés à Reims.
And there will be, all the Germans that went away will be found after that in the town of Reims, you know, where, in a little place where we, you know, in between Chimay and Beaumont, we go to Reims, and they will find them over there later
Alors, c'est la fête pour tous les Belges.
Then, you know, it's the big affair, you know, the big rejoicing for all the Belgians at that moment.
I could hear all the firing. I mean, I knew there was artillery in the immediate region. because I didn't know whether they were fighting
you could
in
hear
the outskirts.
in Chimay, of course you could.
Sure you could hear it in Chimay.
Il a entendu tout
Oh, yes,
Ils bombardaient sur le pont mineur en bas de la route. Et alors, il y a l'ordonnance qui est en train de pleurer parce que l'officier a été tué.
We knew the Americans were advancing.
We knew.
Oui, je me demande pourquoi s'il a mal, il dit non, mais j'ai perdu mon officier. Il était joyeux et gentil.
One American batman here, and he was crying, and somebody asked him why he was crying. If he was hurt, he said, no, it's because my officer has been killed.
Dans les tables, de ce table. And 12 familles américaines sont en deuil ici.
So 12 American families lost one of theirs here.
Et pour ça, on a fait en reconnaissance. Et le petit ah, seul. Il faudra qu'on le mette pour son propre plaisir. Ça fera tirer les autres.
Oui.
Anyway, on va encore faire 3 petites choses pierres assis. Une en anglais. On va se renseigner pour mettre une flamme. On a fait une cave déjà. On a déjà le tuyau. Il y a que la flamme.
3 other languages.
The monument is just up there on the hill. That's Monceau-Imbrechies. And we're down in the little valley town of Macquenoise, expecting the Americans to come right out of the west, which is just, on a clear day you can see the tower out there. I can't see it now, but it's just, and of course the Americans made an end run and get up here on this hill. The Germans opened up with a barrage from down in Macquenoise, and I guess on the initial barrage they killed 12 Americans. And it was in their memory that this monument was erected.
A ceremony to commemorate the liberation of Belgium is held at the Cendron Memorial in Forge-Philippe. Location is where the 1st U.S. troops of the U.S. 9th Infantry Division, 60th Regiment, crossed over the Wartoise River from France into Belgium on September 2nd, 1944 at 9:30 a.m. to liberate Belgium from 4 years of Nazi occupation and oppression.
Nous croyons que tu nous aimes, nous croyons que tu nous sauves, nous croyons que tu nous sanctifies. Dieu a mis son corps entre nos mains. Venez du fond du temps des bouts du monde, cœur transpercé par la soif et la faim. Ouvrez la porte de la joie profonde. Le refrain. Dieu a mis son corps entre nos mains. Dieu a mis son corps entre nos mains.
Au nom du Père et du Fils et du Saint-Esprit, Amen. Au nom du Seigneur, je vous accueille tous dans sa tendresse et dans sa miséricorde. Il nous invite, pécheurs, démunis que nous sommes. Et comme le dit Jésus dans l'Évangile, nous qui sommes juste dignes d'occuper la dernière place, nous sommes invités à monter et à recevoir l'honneur de la première place parce que Dieu nous pardonne. Reconnaissons humblement que nous ne méritons pas la première place, mais que Dieu veut cependant nous l'offrir.
Mesdames, Messieurs, le 2 septembre 1944, c'est ici, à l'endroit même où nous sommes, que commença la libération de notre pays. Voici 45 ans, en effet, nous étions enfin arrachés aux griffes du nazisme. Bien sûr, surtout, nous avions puisé dans les traditions de la liberté de notre pays, le courage et l'espérance. Tous, nous étions persuadés que le bien triompherait du mal et que les valeurs humaines triompheraient de la modestie et du racisme, de l'intolérance sous toutes ses formes. Mais pour y parvenir, il avait fallu 4 longues années de souffrance, de misère, de combat et payer un bien lourd tribut à la mort. Nous sommes à l'époque des cérémonies anniversaires. Une fois encore, nous feuilletions les pages de notre histoire écrites dans les larmes et dans le sang. Nos mémoires ainsi éveillées nous font mieux percevoir le vécu. Nous serons refusés toute concession et que nous l'utiliserons dans leur toute idéologie fasciste et autres cultes de la supériorité d'une race sur une autre. Mesdames, Messieurs, cette journée commémorative ne s'arrête donc pas aux limites du souvenir, aussi noble soit-il. Cette journée adresse un message aux générations nouvelles. N'oubliez pas.
And now, this young daughter and young boy write to me everything. You better get up there, Joe.
Well, good.
All red.
Colonel?
Not really. The picture is
Thank you. I see. I want pictures of those kids. Merci beaucoup.
How do you like these American
When the B-17 Susan Ruth was shot down, all the members of the crew were injured to some degree. The most serious were tail gunner Bill Slenker, left waist gunner Joe Musial, and bombardier Richard Daniels, who were all treated at this German-controlled medical clinic in Chimay. Slenker was snuck in and out by the Maquis, while Musial and Daniels were prisoners of war brought there by the Germans.
This is the Chimay clinic where Mr. Daniels and myself, Joe Musial, were brought shortly after we were shot down, February the 8th, 1944, and a female Russian doctor operated on the both of us. I never knew it was a Russian female. I always assumed it would be French or Belgian until last year I was informed that she was a Russian woman doctor.
The mayor of Chimay makes a speech, and Jack Gondry translates. After the mayor's speech, everyone enjoys some Chimay beer, and the Susan Ruth crew members are presented with commemorative plates.
On the way of the memory and the remembrance.
Le 8 février 1940,
of U.S. Air Force crashes in Macquenoise.
l'équipage
Susan Ruth, it is the name of the plane which will know a destiny which is absolutely astonishing, where the tragic will be right along the miracle. The death for 2 of those men, 3 others will be shot in the back by the SS, who had captured them, and that will be in the forest of Ceremonies. 3 will be taken prisoners, and thanks God, the 2 others, Captain Snyder and Gunner Bill Slenker,
will escape capture and will escape capture and death and will survive at this extraordinary feat.
Ils survivront d'abord parce que ce sont des hommes.
Because those are very energetic men, full of resources. And the part that Captain Snyder will take in the combats of the underground is a testimony to their courage and their combativity. Because destiny, some people might say their providence, put them on the road, on the way, the path of exceptional beings. Of the war to reveal to others and to themselves, the women and the men, their true character. That those are just matter-of-fact beings, without any particular thing, who are leading a very quiet life. And very discreetly. There are two American flyers. One is injured. He must be under care. The other one must hide himself. The Germans are at their back. Danger is everything. Danger of death, death penalty for those with the flyers in escape. Risk of torture or deportation for part of all of their families. You, Dr. Trigo, Madame, and you, Mademoiselle Collet, you won't hesitate. Your door will open wide for the care. Your house will become a sure refuge for these men who are on their own in a land which they don't know neither geography, neither the language. And where they will, in which they will have during 7 months mean the extraordinary life, clandestine life.
De cette aventure.
Yeah, you're not taking any pride. And the feeling that is in you today, I'm quite sure of it, is a feeling very simple to one of having been useful, that of having rendered service, of having helped people in difficulty. And for my part, I'm very glad that, I'm very happy that this little ceremony of today will contribute to make living again my souvenir, my remembrance. Thanks to Dr. Delahaye and to call upon our memory that there were in between 1940 and 44 Belgians and inhabitants of Chimay, courageous and more heroic than the other ones, and that you are among those. Acting this way toward American fighters who were fighting for the liberty of Europe, you have contributed to reinforce these bonds who are united, the United States of America to all Europe. And you've done it while using a wire more precious and more resisting than the hardest metal and the most noble as well. I want to talk about heroism of all you were the authors and participators of this end, Americans and Belgians, of the saga of the Wallers-en-Fagne.
ceux qui sont intervenus pour le sauver pour la victoire.
The mayor of Montmagny, Albert Dupré, welcomes the group. They have a Chimay toast, and pilot Howard Snyder states his gratitude.
Et d'appliquer au dévouement dont ont fait preuve ces aviateurs américains, que nous sommes heureux de recevoir en nos murs à la demande de la Fondation belgo-américaine. Pas un seul véritable héros ne se vante à avoir représenté l'hommage et le salut cordial de l'administration communale tout entière. C'est dans cet esprit que je me fais le plaisir de vous remettre ces cadeaux de notre commune en souvenir de l'estime et de la gratitude en lesquels vous êtes tant notre population. Nous allons lever votre veille à votre santé. Je vous remercie.
King Albert I of Belgium exclaimed, "We are obliged to be heroes." We can say the same thing today, because the courage of these American aviators is as glorious as the past of your predecessor. We are sure that if our country is today free, if our children can live happy now, it is because the best sons of many nations of the world have not refused the fight. Sirs, I greet in you the representative of honor, courage, and energy, which have not need superfluous praises. I am really happy and proud to present of you the respect, congratulations, and greeting to all the population of our town. Please accept this little present for the remembrance and esteem of all inhabitants of our town. Thank you very much. And now I request you to drink for the friendship.
By all means, Montmagny.
I would like to extend our thanks to all you gracious people who we consider very good friends. You honor us, but we should honor you for all the brave you showed during World War II in hiding us and taking care of us. Your friendship is exceptional, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the gifts, and we thank you very much. Your country is really dear to our hearts, and you people will always have a place in our hearts for as long as we live. Thank you.
Nos amis nous me demandent de bien pouvoir vous remercier. Alors je vais le faire, puisque oui, mais je trouverai toujours dans quelqu'un. Bien, je vais aller présenter. Monsieur le bourgmestre, permettez-moi. Alors voilà. De la part de notre ami le capitaine Snyder, je voudrais vous remercier tous. Et je voudrais vous dire que nous vous considérons, je parle ça en son nom bien sûr, que nous vous considérons comme nos meilleurs amis. Et si évidemment les forces des États-Unis ont libéré, ont contribué en tout cas à libérer l'Europe, nous n'oublions jamais combien vous nous avez aidés tous et combien plusieurs d'entre nous doivent leur vie et leur liberté à l'aide généreuse et dangereuse qu'ils ont reçue de la part des habitants de la région ici. Je voudrais à ce propos encore exprimer ma gratitude et dire que vraiment nous avons maintenant des liens extrêmement étroits entre nous et nous souhaitons que cela continue comme cela encore pendant très longtemps. Encore merci, monsieur le bourgmestre. Merci, monsieur, merci, madame.
Here we see Paul and Christiane's daughters, Crystal and Séverine, who now carry on their father's legacy. At the luncheon table, the wives of the crew members break into song.
Bicycle.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Did you get the
Uh-oh, here's Joe.
Yes, he does.
Joe.
GM Universal Pictures.
Oh, Joe.
You know what? I'll tell you what.
Kilometer.
I'm just wondering if he's not going to sell all that when he goes back to the States.
Sure.
Sell that to MGM.
Better split with you, Jack, because you really worked hard these
You
last
bet
days.
you. Paul also, Bill.
Split the francs with you. The big cheese, the big
Well, you know, they don't.
You gotta say something.
I keep telling Jack, you know, I told Jack.
Oui,
But he doesn't.
There we go.
I had to figure out what to say yes to. You know, you're doing wonderful. Last year.
You don't want to stand there.
Cameron, I got you.
The group, including the Delahaye girls, Crystal and Séverine, have a fun time enjoying drinks at an outdoor cafe.
Merci beaucoup.
Yes, c'est bien ça. Très bien.
C'est bien gentil, vous nous donnez sa place.
Ah, quel monsieur.
Monsieur, il est parti là.
Ik was het zien vaak.
You started driving in there, I've been laying back and went sleep.
Wanneer was het zien vaak?
Paul, not water.
Suze.
I want a lager.
Lager beer.
The light beer.
C'est une bière blonde.
Bière blonde, une grande.
Oui. Dat werkt.
Find out loud, you think of all the time you spend over here, you just hear about well, you think of all the time you spend over here, at least be able to order a beer, right?
Holy cow.
Tu l'as fait là?
Everybody else.
Hey, c'est vrai, si tu veux, monsieur, mon drink.
Crystal. No, you can. It's not good for you.
Tu vois, monsieur,
That guy had so much trouble ordering a beer.
Leads to Paris so that you can set us straight. Oh, yeah, they need travel.
Who's that?
Il a fait tout en mot
I go to Paris with my family and so my grandfather. I go to Paris with my grandma, and I go to Paris with my and we go everywhere. You know, it's American, and it's oh, we go there, we go there. I go to there with my I go.
Ils consomment plus de sang parce qu'ils restent plus longtemps en route que nous, hein. Enlève là. Là.
Oh, look at
I thought he was taking after the business arena, Northside.
C'est de bon cœur.
Mais on va aider le parti. Écoute ce que je te dis. Écoute ce que je vais te dire. On va dire, il n'y a pas d'accident, on a rien dit. Il n'y a pas d'accident, on ne l'a pas vu. C'est arrivé après, ça vous êtes attaqué. Il mourir avec.
Did you really?
I'll let Jack go.
Oh, I wasn't serious.
No, it's nothing serious.
Not for Jack.
Not for Jack.
Goodbye.
On peut trouver le bouche.
Oui, il a coupé. Il arrive. Qu'est-ce que tu bois, Christelle, et ton mort, c'est bien. Une guêpe.
Just poured my beer out. Poured my beer out.
Allez, fais une bière maintenant.
Le soldat allemand, no parler bon France.
Il ne parlait pas français non plus.
And there were a lot of displaced people around, like there was the Polish and all kinds of people.
On va aller chercher
What is that white wine?
Moi j'ai Robert,
Viva la compagnie. What are we trying to
I
think
said
of?
you look just like Mickey Rooney.
C'est vraiment où on a vu qu'il n'y a pas de temps pour regarder. On a dû monter une église à bout.
They're laughing away.
You know what? She might have been watching, and he's not very clean. A young boy is there and said, oh, my mom is in the toilet and my dad is outside. And after the mom arrived, said, what my son said. And she said, oh, your husband woke up and she won't tell her she's in the toilet.
It's really going to be so. You don't have the lens cap on it if he has a cassette in there because he's really a good photographer.
I hope you still say the same thing when you see some of this stuff.
It's going to be good, huh, Joe?
Ils adorent ça. Allez, je te repaye un de vous.
Non.
Si.
I already did that, Eleanor.
Bill. Beer.
Bill.
Beer.
No.
Bill. Ah. Madame Bill.
You told me you drink
Madame Bill.
Mr. Bill. Bill.
Monsieur
Bill.
Monsieur Émile Louis Gaston
Dupont. Madame Dupont. Bill.
That's like Bill.
What?
Monsieur Holbert. Bill.
I mean, when I call the colonel, maybe.
Oh, you made a big hit. I'll tell you, Eleanor, you demoted that guy 2 ranks.
I know, but then I said...
Eleanor B.
Then I said, General, sir.
Yeah.
But then he didn't hear me. But Joe said, for God's sake, Eleanor, when you don't know what rank...
Gisele.
He says, when you don't know what rank, call him a... But he said, when you don't know what rank he is, call him a general. So I called him General, sir.
During the Battle of the Bulge in the Ardennes forest, the siege of Bastogne in December 1943 was a pivotal point. The town, being defended by the 101st Airborne, was surrounded by Germans, who gave a surrender ultimatum, to which the U.S. commander, Anthony McAuliffe, replied, "Nuts." The monument near the town of Bastogne is called the Martyson Memorial, in memory of the American soldiers who were wounded or killed during the Battle of the Bulge.
Like we've arrived in Bastogne, the Battle of the Bulge was fought here. This is where General McAuliffe gave his now famous reply to the ultimatum to surrender of nuts. That's the Cafe McAuliffe.
Hey, Howard. Howard, would you take a picture of Jeannie and me by the tank?
Oh, cute.
Show where we're at.
What's the matter? Eleanor won't let you take her picture?
Paul Delahaye gives the wives a present of a Trappist monk figurine. The local beer, Chimay, is brewed by Trappist monks at the Scormont Abbey, where they make 3 ales, Chimay Rouge, Chimay Blanche, and Chimay Bleu. The group enjoyed a lot of it during their visit to Belgium.
So you better take your portfolio out, your purse.
And me.
And if you have any nickels now,
Trappist monk.
Explique quand même que c'est très artisanal, que c'est tout à fait fait à la main.
Now, I would like to point out in Belgian patois now that all these are handmade, as we call artisanal. Precious.
What does he have? Shimmy beer there?
Pardon?
That's shimmy beer?
That's Chimay, that's Trappist
Shimmy
beer.
beer.
Yeah,
This is a Trappist monk who makes the Chimay beer. Yeah, he's holding a bottle of Chimay beer. This is a Trappist monk.
He's holding the...
He looks as though he's been drinking a little of it, too. Jack, he looks as though he's been drinking some of it.
Yes.
Look at the eyes.
He's lost most of
Look
his
at his
hair.
ears.
Yes, that's...
Oh, darling, sure, look at the eyes.
I hope I made it in my purse. I hope I did. Did you get mine?
Tell,
They told me that I was very close to death, that, you know, I could be killed by the Boche, you know, and that I needed a priest.
Sure.
And I needed to take confession. I said, I am Protestant. We do not take it. They said, makes no difference. They didn't know what a Protestant was.
That's all we can do is
You may, put your mind at rest, because upon the fact that you're drinking this sacred beer, there you are. You have all the blessings, of
The beer is blessed by the by the trappy.
By the bishop there, The diablo, the apple. He's a bishop,
Can anybody ever go through those places like the...
Oh, no.
Yes, inside the yard. You can. Not in their private apartment. You can go to the church if you wish.
Oh,
chapel.
Well, let's do that.
Yeah.
You can take confession.
I want to see one of those monks. I want a monkey with the monk.
Don't start doing that monkey business.
I want a monkey with the monk. The monk.
He'd never forget you, Eleanor.
That's true.
Paul Delahaye died in 2013, and the Belgian American Foundation, since renamed the Duty to Remember Association, is now led by his daughters, Crystal and Severine. The association continues to remember and honor the crew of the B-17 Susan Ruth and holds ceremonies at the memorial on February 8th of each year. In addition, relatives of the 10-man crew visit Belgium periodically to pay homage to their departed loved ones. Large contingents of relatives attended the 70th anniversary celebrations of the liberation of Belgium in 2014, and again for the 75th anniversary celebrations in 2019.
It is our duty to remember.